Good morning, you guys. All right, I'm still getting used to this new way that they're doing the videos, but this is what we're making today. How cute is that? Super easy, inexpensive. How cute is that? All right, really great for Thanksgiving. It says gather, in case it's backwards for you guys. It says gather underneath the truck, and we got the pumpkins and stuff. It's super, super cute, okay? All right, so I'm just going to set our example aside, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so what we're starting with is just from the dollar store. It's just a sign, and it comes with the string. All right, and so the first thing we're going to do is untie one of the sides, okay? Just do one side, okay? Because we can pull it out through. So I'm just using my nails and opening that up, okay? And we're just gonna go like that. And if you're having trouble seeing, make sure you swipe the comments to the right. All right, there we go. And we're just gonna pull it all the way out and get it out of our way. All right, I'm just gonna set it aside there so then I don't lose track of it. So there we go. So the one tip I wanted to give you guys is when you're at the dollar store looking at these, I mean, they do not put the holes in like perfectly even. So, you know, make sure to look so then you can find the one that is the closest to being centered for the strings. But it does kind of give it a rustic feel if it's a bit off too. All right, so there we go. We got that. We're going to lay that down. All right, and then we got some really super cute napkins. How adorable are those? Got those from the dollar store, and so I'm just going to pull one out. All right, and so for this we're actually only going to use half of it, okay? So I'm just going to cut it down the middle, all right, and then we will open it up and I'll show you guys the inside, or the other sides I should say. So we're just going to cut across the top. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm just setting one half aside and we got this going on. All right, and so now we're gonna open it up, and how cute is this? So it has cute little pumpkins on the other sides too. Super adorable. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to lay that down. All right, try and do it your guys' way, and I got the Mod Podge right in the way. There we go. All right, so lay that down. We're going to try and center it, which is going to be much harder while I'm upside down like this. But you're doing your best just to center it. You know, look at the sides and the top to kind of figure out where it's centered. What I found really helped, and I'm doing it your way, so that's why it looks a little clumsy, because it does feel very clumsy for me. But as you're looking at it, so exactly the angle that you guys are looking at, so if it was me doing it, I would do it this way, make sure I can see underneath, and then lay it out. And so what you're looking for is to make sure that you have a bit of room on top of the truck, because you don't want that truck touching the top. And then just lay it down, make sure you're completely covering that gather word, and then kind of tweak it a little bit to get it perfectly angled, okay? All right, so then at that point, we're just gonna do a quick trace out, okay? All right, so super simple. We got our tracing done. Set that aside. Just got it traced out, if you guys can see that. All right, then what we're going to do before we actually do any cutting is we're going to separate the two different layers of the napkin. So this is where my fingers will probably get a little fumbly. But you want to be very careful, because as you take away that extra layer, it does make it a lot more delicate. Okay, I'm just trying to get that separation. There we go. So I just started that separation. Opening it up, very, very gentle. Make sure you're working with a clean space. I'm working with this placemat, which I was working with something sticky the other day, and while I was working on the example, they were starting to get stuck on there, and it was super delicate, so I was really glad that it didn't actually end up ripping. We're just going to pull it apart. All right, so I'm just going to put my hand down there very gently. Make sure you move along with it, just separating them. Oh, got a little bit of a tear. Luckily it's in the bottom part, not the top. There we go, we were able to get by it. Alright, oh, just a slight tear. Alright, so we won't be needing the white piece, so we'll just set that aside. Alright, so that's what we got. It's like now super thin. All right, and so at this point, this is where we would cut that out, and so I'm just going to do a quick start. Make sure to start from the top, because we're going to try and use these things in other places, okay? So just starting from the top and just going around. So you're going to go ahead and do it. Be careful, you know, we're trying to get it exactly on the circle. So I do already have one cut out to save you guys time in watching. All right, so I got my wood down. Here, I'll do it upside down so then you guys can see it. All right, I got my piece all cut out and ready. Okay. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, so this is the remnants of it cut out, right? All right, so we're going to actually steal some of the bottom piece, and we're going to cut that out very detailed so then we're able to add it to our bottom. All right, so I believe, so you want to do it just a little bit outside of the area, you know, out of the middle section. We're just going to go along, trimming really close in there. You can get super detailed, but I like to save time, and it blends in pretty good, so you don't have to stress too much about it. Almost cut off some berries. All right, so I'm just going to stop it there, and then we're also going to trim off the very bottom, that yellow line in the bottom. Sorry, you guys, I'm getting a little fumbly with my fingers. Okay. I wonder if it would have been easier to do that first. So I suggest you do that first. I think that's what I did last time. I think that's why I'm struggling. So trim off the yellow first and then cut that out. I think that's a much easier way to do it. All right, so we're just going to set that aside. Okay. All right, and we're going to get out our Mod Podge. So I just have some paint wells here. I'm going to fill up 2 or 3 of them because you do use underneath and on top. So I'm just going to put some in 2 of them. You guys can see that, just super easy. And we're just going to cover this rather thickly. Make sure it all kind of has a frosty look to it. If anything looks too wood-like, then give it just a little bit more. Just covering the whole thing. All right. Make sure to get really good at the edges. The edges seem to be where it needs just that little bit more attention to make sure that you've got it coated. All right, so there we go. We got it coated. All right, make sure you have the darker side facing upwards, not downwards. We're going to do our best to center it. All right. Moving kind of from the inside out, unless you like having more wrinkles. I mean, depending on what kind of texture you want it to look like. I kind of like having a bit of wrinkles in there. So, oh, that one's pretty flat. All right, at this point is when you want to trim up a little bit because of the way we stenciled it. It should have a little bit of edging. So it gives us just a little bit of wiggle room, which is sometimes a good thing. So, you know, in case we don't get it perfectly on. All right, so I'm just trimming up just a little bit. There's right there and on this side. All right, and just make sure that, you know, your Mod Podge has made it wet, and so it's a lot more delicate. So make sure if you're holding it like I was that you don't slide your thumb around at all. You got to keep it still, otherwise you're going to rip your napkin. That would be very sad. All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and put on our next layer. Put on the upper layer. Okay. We're just going to make sure we do a nice coat on that, not too thick, but you want to make sure that every part of it is covered. And just pay attention that you're not doing it too thick, especially in any of the crevices or wrinkles in it, because those are the places where it seems to gather. And just make sure you have quite a bit on your brush, because if you have too little, then you'll start having ripping and stuff like that. So we definitely want to avoid that. So it's a balance. And if you have too much, you can always do the brush over again gently to help take off some of the excess. All right, I think I missed part of the middle here. There we go. And you can usually tell, like I said, it's the same kind of thing as with the wood. You know, it's a little bit of a frosty color that gives you the indication of where you have gotten and where you haven't. All right, and just on the edging, make sure that you've gotten it all down good. Just go around it quick, make sure you got all those edges. There we go. All right, so that was pretty good. All right, so if you guys can see, it's kind of a little bit frosted over. All right, and now at this point, I like to get those holes and make sure that we are able to get through them with no problem. All right, so I'm just using a pencil, just jabbing it in, moving it around, making sure that if any of it does kind of come up, then I push it in so then it's not sticking out. If you look, it kind of came up a bit, so I'm just going to stick that right back in, just push it in. All right, there we go. All right, so we got our holes in now. Wipe that off. All right, and so now we're just going to do the little line on the bottom, and we're just going to go ahead and do this. If you like, you can wait and do it in sections, you know, let this dry and then do it again. But as you guys know, I like to save time when we do our videos. So we got about that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's not covering the wording there. Okay, and so I'm just going to set it down, kind of make sure it's across. It's a little bit harder upside down, but there we go. All right, so I'm just setting it down on there, and then I'm going to trim it up. So I'm going to make sure it's good and secure, kind of like we just did on the other one. And then I'm going to trim it up. And that will add our berries to it, which just gives it a nice finish. You could also just add a bow or something like that. I'm a little bit more clumsy with bows, so the trim worked better for me, and it's a lot easier for our beginner crafters. All right, so I got that done, and I'm going to go ahead and put some Mod Podge on that too. All right, and for this one, I actually wanted to add just a little bit more. So we, like I said, we just added on that and just put some Mod Podge on top. So we're getting really close to it being done here. And so the other thing I wanted to add on, because I just thought that it was a waste not to use, so I'm going to need a little bit more Mod Podge here. All right, make sure I have them handy. So I cut out the side. So if you guys remember, we opened it up and then we have our full pumpkins, and then our circle kind of cut them off a bit. So it ended up that the way that you cut them off still leaves you with some pretty adorable pieces there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add them to this picture. All right, so I wanted to do it on the other one, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys the options. So just making sure that I'm not covering anything up. And I'm just going to pat that down on there. All right, and so this will definitely make it a little more filled. And make sure that you do it after you do the berries, so then they're not, you know, fighting each other. And if you look, I cut much closer to that since we're combining pictures. All right. And we're just going to pat that down there too. And then we'll trim it too. All right, so we got those all hanging off. We're just going to trim it, just doing your scissors right along the ledge, making sure you're careful not to rip. All right, one side and then the other, and then I'll show you guys a nice trick to get the string back in. All right, quickly Mod Podge that on, and of course, you guys, I'm gonna post. It'll be my new cover picture. We'll show it all finished. So after this one is all ready to be shown. All right, so nice, right? All right, and if you guys can see, the gather is already starting to dry. So I think you're supposed to let it dry for 15 to 20 minutes. All right, but I do want to show you guys. So I'm going to get a bit messy because I'm not going to wait because I want to show you guys this. All right, so we got our string, right? And we got to get it back in there, right? All right, and this string is like super rough, not easy to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab that end that is now frayed because we opened it, twist it a little bit, and I'm actually using some Mod Podge on there. So I'm going to get messy again, but I got the Mod Podge on there and I'm just twisting it with that on it. And it helps it hold together just a little bit better so you're able to put it back together. Should probably have, there we go, I had a wipe handy. All right, so there we go. And so the way that we're going to do it is actually from the back coming up, coming out. Make sure I got this good. Hopefully it works as well. Yep, it did. So that's through one. If that frays it too much, go ahead and Mod Podge it again just to get it through, okay? Because it definitely helps to line it up. All right, and we go through the other. Okay, normally I would lay it flat at this time, but I'm just going to tie a knot in the back of it. Just a really basic knot. Just like the other side, just like you found it. All right, and that should make you good. All right, and then once more, just making sure that as the napkin is wet, you got to be super, super careful with it. So we got our knots in the back, and there we go. Now we have a different version of the same thing. How cute is that? All right, you guys, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. I thought today was a really important day to go ahead and make sure I had a craft for you guys. I know a lot of people are feeling a little more stressed, so make sure y'all are making good choices. Make sure you're being kind, loving, and supportive of everyone around you. And let's make today a great day. All right, you guys, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.